Okay. All right. So this week was chapter 6, the law of environment. And I think that this one is why I think Plexus is so special, because we have in my opinion, we have the best growth environment out of most network marketing companies. And most, at least from what I get from other people that I have talked to, most people, when they get into a network marketing company, they don't have the kind of growth and support that we do. We are all encouraging one another. We are pouring into one another. We are one plexus. Like that is our phrase that is used. We are one plexus. And it really does feel that way in every way. Like from the top down, we have great leaders. We have, this environment that is pouring into all of us equally, and everybody is treated with the same respect, and I love that. So John Maxwell was talking about how it doesn't matter what your past was. It doesn't matter what your environment was when you were growing up versus what your environment is now. We all have to refuse to be captive of the environment that we were in, and that you have to remember that the best place to learn is always when people are ahead of you. So if you are just starting out with Plexus and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I could never be gold, I could never be senior ruby, I could never be emerald or diamond. Well, you're probably feeling that way because you're comparing yourself to other people that are ahead of you and that have already gone through a lot of growth. They've already gone through a lot of experiences that you haven't yet. And that's a good thing. Like, that is a positive thing. That's something that you should get excited about, because that means that you have other people that are going to share their experiences with you and allow, and help you grow as a person. He said that if you're in a growth environment, that means that you will definitely change, and change is necessary for growth. So if you're feeling a little bit of that tug on your heart that, oh my goodness, like I'm definitely getting outside my comfort zone here, that's growth. Okay. That's a good thing. That's a good little tug. And it's something that we all need. He said, reaching your full potential means you should always be growing. I don't know about you guys, but before I got into Plexus, I would kind of read here and there, or I would maybe, research something here and there about whether it was about parenting or whether it was about nutrition. I really love to research about nutrition and about health, obviously, because that's kind of what got me into Plexus. But honestly, I wasn't growing at a very fast rate. And I don't think I was growing very intentionally. I was just kind of going, day to day, and I didn't really have a good solid book I was reading. I didn't really have videos I was watching every single day to pour into my mind. And I definitely did not have a environment that was encouraging growth. Probably besides my church, that was probably the only environment that I had that was encouraging me to grow. But nothing to the extent of Plexus. And I think that's one thing that all of us can agree that is wonderful, is like when you start with Plexus, you immediately, like, you have a group of people that are for you, that are pushing you, that are wanting you to succeed. And that means that they will, ask you to do things that are scary and that are outside your comfort zone. But that is how we're going to grow. he said that the accept the things that you cannot change about yourself, like the facts of life. That means the way that you look, your height, your DNA. Those are things that you can't change. Who your parents were, your experiences from your past, you can't change those things. So don't dwell on the past, basically. Focus on the things that you can change. Whether you are a success or whether you are a failure in life has little to do with your circumstances and everything to do with your choices. Okay, so remember that we're all definitely starting on different journeys here. You may come from some really hard circumstances in your past. Or maybe you had a very nurturing environment, and like John Maxwell, he said he honestly grew up with a very nurturing environment. His mom was very loving and supportive, and his dad, really helped him learn his purpose and go after it. But what he did find is that he got stagnant, and because he had reached the peak of his specific organization. And from there, he wasn't growing for years. So he knew that he needed to change his environment so that he could grow and that he could reach his fullest potential. And that's what has obviously spurred him on to grow as one of an international speaker, author, and so much more. So that's just really encouraging that, he chose not to just stay in his environment, even though he really had a good environment. But it wasn't one that was encouraging him to keep growing. So he said in order to grow, in order to grow, we have to change our environment. And there's 8 points that he touches on and how we do that. And number 1 was assess your current environment. So if you're going to actually change your environment, you have to first assess it, and you have to you have to examine why you want a change, why you want to make those changes, and then make good changes, make proactive changes. You need to write them down and write down the specifics of, okay, I need to grow in this area, and this is how I'm going to grow. So I think that's something, again, we encourage with Plexus. How many videos a day are you watching? How many pages of a personal development book are you reading? Are you being purposeful and intentional with that? Or are you just hoping that you will grow just by being in the Plexus group, if that makes sense? I think there is a lot that is caught when you are in a good environment like Plexus. But there's also a lot of things that we have to do on our own. Only we know what we need to change in our lives. I think our sponsors are really good to point out the things that we need to focus on and to grow in. But ultimately, it's our job to grow and to know what needs to change. So he said you need to write those down and examine yourself, and then basically make a plan of what you're going to do to change. Number 2, change yourself and your environment. If you're in a growth environment, this is how you know you're in a growth environment. You are constantly outside of your comfort zone. You are encouraged to overcome fears. And there's always people ahead of you. So if you remember that is a good thing. If you are feeling oh my goodness, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to be outside my comfort zone. Well, the truth is nobody feels right being outside their comfort zone. We all like to kind of cower back in that safe space. And there's always times for reflection. Obviously, there's always times for like, kind of stopping and reflecting on what we've done and making a plan for the future. But at some time or another, we have to move forward. And so if you are in a growth environment, that's going to be so much easier because you're going to have people that are going to say, okay, you can do this. Now this is the next step. Now this is the next fear that you're going to overcome. He said, attend great events, spend time with great people, read great books, listen to great podcasts. That's how you change your environment. Because a lot of the change, again, you can have the best environment, but a lot of the change has to come from within. So that's how you know that you are in a growth environment, which I truly believe if you are in plexus, you are in a good growth environment. Number 3, change the people you spend your time with. Jim Rohn said that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I'm going to say that again. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you are evaluating your current group of friends, and that is, they're not inspiring you, they're not pushing you, they're not encouraging you and pouring into you and adding value to your life, then you might need to find a new group. He also said that this group is known as your reference group, and that 95% of success or failure in life is based off of your reference group. Okay, that was like a really aha moment to me, because honestly, so many times, I think we tend to spend our time with people that are the same as us, or even people that are, not even as on the same level of growth as we are. And so I think it's really important to just evaluate your surroundings, and remember that you need to be hanging out with people and like seeking mentorship from people that are better than you. I think that, I can think of several people, not even in plexus, who I spend my time with. My best friend, Aubrey, she works out all the time. I mean, she's very consistent with that. She has such great wisdom when it comes to spiritual life, and I love hanging out with her because I know she's better than me. Like, and I'm okay with saying that. She has way more consistency in life than I do, and I learned so much from her. And so spend time with people that are, that are better than you, that want to give you good advice and that want to see you improve and reach your fullest potential. He was talking about there's 3 different groups of people. There is the bottom third. These are people that suck life out of you. They're negative. They never see the positive. Even if they have a good day, it's never a great day. And if something bad happens, it's because they usually blame it on external factors, and they think that having success in life is just luck, basically. So he said, try to stay away from the life suckers, basically. Set boundaries and make sure when, he said lift other people up for sure. But if somebody wants to stay in a life sucking mode, then avoid that. The next group is like the middle third, and he said that they're generally happy and positive, but whenever their circumstances are, whenever a hard circumstance hits, then they generally get negative and kind of down on themselves, and they don't overcome those circumstances. The top third is the leaders, the people that have great integrity, they have great character, and they know that hardships will come. But they maintain a positive attitude even in hard circumstances, and they keep company with good men to help them overcome those circumstances. So they whether they seek counsel during those times or whatever it is, they still maintain a good posture, and they still overcome, and they know that does not define their success, because hard circumstances will come. Also, he encourages everyone to hang out with people that take the high road, people with integrity and character, and then basically people who are always looking for personal growth themselves. He also is saying that whenever you have an accountability partner, and this goes back to the last chapter talking about the law of consistency. If you have an accountability partner, you are much more likely to be successful. That way you have somebody that has asked you, like, what have you learned since the last time we met? If you haven't learned something, like when your sponsor is coming to you and they are asking if you had watched a video that they sent you, or, did you read your chapter this week, or whatever it is, if you haven't done anything in that period of time between the time that they sent it to you, then you know that you're not in a growth mindset, and that's something that you need to work on, whether that you find an accountability partner to help you, or you just become more conscientious of that and say, okay, I'm going to at least make it be purposeful to watch this video, and then tell them, tell your sponsor some new things that you learned. You guys, I'm learning something new like every day. I feel like there's just little tidbits that I get from one video, and it may not all speak to me, but it's just like one little tidbit I take away. And so we have to constantly be feeding that positivity and constantly be feeding our minds. Number 4 is challenge yourself in your new environment. So once you're in your new environment, you've got, the right people around you. Now you've got to take action. And that's the scary part, right? That's when we have to actually do the change, and we have to attack our fears, kind of come face to face with our fears. So he said, in order to do this, you have to be intentional, and you have to challenge yourself. It doesn't have to be, a huge step. It can be small steps, but you have to challenge yourself with something. Look for one major growth opportunity each week. And he said you can be, whether that is going out on a lunch date with a mentor, or it can be going to a counseling session. I'm very open about this. I go to counseling not only to overcome some things of my past, but I have found that it's just amazing for my business. I feel like it keeps me in a positive growth mindset, and it keeps me accountable, because my counselor always asks me, what have you done since the last time we talked? And it's just really encouraging to me. What are their strengths? Okay, let me go back. Okay, so when you go and you talk to people, whether that's a mentor, whether that's your sponsor, your counselor, somebody at church, accountability partner, whoever it is, ask them about their strengths. Like, what are their strengths and what did they do to achieve that strength? Was it something that they, have done throughout their life, or did they have to overcome something to get to be strong in that area? What are they learning now? To grow. What are they learning now? And that kind of casts vision of what you can be doing to grow. So like when when a counselor recommends a book for me, they've obviously read it and they have really sought, they have, gained something from that. So if they recommend it to me, I'm definitely going to put it on my list of, reads. What have they found works and what have they found didn't work? What helped them the most to grow in certain areas? So if you're having like a mentor session, remember to ask them questions. Don't just let them give you advice, because they won't know, like your sponsor, for instance, they will not know what you need unless you ask specific questions. I like to ask with my coaching calls, I always ask what specifically are you struggling with? What can I help you with? And I ask those things because there's always something that we should need help with, if that makes sense. There's always something that we should be, needing to grow in. And so if you're on my team and if I ask you that, no, that's just because I want to keep you accountable to growing. I want to make sure that I'm helping you as your sponsor, because I know that's what Abby does for me. She always challenges me to grow in an area that I'm weak, or just improve on the things that I'm strong in. This one helped me so much because I'm a big picture person. I always, like, Chad jokes with me because he's like, you're always on cloud 9 dreaming, because I'm a big dreamer. I'm like, I can see the vision, you guys. I can see it. But, this one really just helped me. He said, don't dwell on your past and don't focus on your future. Focus on the here and now, the today. So remember that you can't change your past, first of all. Like, you can never change your past, so just don't dwell on it. And if you can't overcome some of the hurts, then definitely seek counseling. Because what you do now to your future is what really matters. It's the person that you become. And so, I think it's so easy, like, to say, okay, I just want to be gold. I just want to be gold. Or I just want to be emerald. Or I just want to be diamond like yesterday, whatever it is. Or I just really want to get my products paid for. If you're just starting out, you're probably thinking, I just want to get my products paid for. But remember that you have to focus on today. What did you do today? The small little tasks that may seem, mundane, like Kaylee talked about last week, that consistency wins. The small little task each day that will get you to where you want to be in the future. Number 5 is move forward despite criticism. And you guys, I'm gonna be real with you, that this has been really hard. Prior to Plexus, I tried to avoid criticism. I mean, with like every fiber of my being. I do not like to be criticized. I don't like confrontation. It's just not my personality. I really like to be loved, honestly, and I love to love other people. But I have learned that you can't avoid criticism in life if you do something with your life, okay? If you take action, he was saying, if you take action, that means that criticism will come. You will always have your critics. You will always have people that don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. And then he said, reach for what's beyond your grasp. Reach for what is beyond your grasp. grasp. Do what others believe that you cannot do, and do what you believe you cannot do. That was really powerful. Especially do what you believe you cannot do. So many times we don't push ourselves. We don't believe we can be better than we are. Someone's opinion of you does not have to be your reality. And I love that too. Someone's opinion of you does not have to be your reality. So don't live for other people's opinions. Live for the person that you want to be and grow each day. That is all I have for tonight, you guys. Did anybody else want to say anything? Summer, did you say we only have 1 minute left?
Yeah, it's about to kick off at any moment.
I'm sorry. I just had a lot to say.
Well, we started a little later tonight, so.